Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923, AnyMac Home Mortgage and Equal Housing Lender, American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage, LoFi Direct, Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number, ML 338923, Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number, MC 338923, Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach in college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
First talk with RNJ. I'm Steve Risser, along with Justin D'Onofrio. And last week we discussed it. We were talking about the Raiders and the Lions. We discussed it. If this is going to be Josh McDaniels' last game, if Josh McDaniels is going to get fired after this game. And ironically, it happened. And last night, the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. They fired the general manager. They fired the head coach. They both were from the Patriots, so it made sense that they fired them both. And this is not too big of a lot of people are shocked about this. I'm not completely shocked about this because I've heard rumors that the Raiders locker room did not like McDaniels. Davante Adams was very, very upset, and you cannot upset your star player. You got to have a relationship with your star player. You think McDaniels, would have learned from what happened, at his old stop in New England, what happened with Brady and Belichick at the end. Maybe he should have learned. I thought he might have learned from that, but he didn't. And, him and Davante Adams, it seemed like we're not on the same page. And the organization chose Davante Adams. They didn't trade him. What this means is the organization, Davante Adams under contract until 2026. They took Davante Adams' side. They took guys like Max Crosby's side. They took the player side here, and they fired the head coach. And I'm not totally shocked by this. I'm a little bit surprised it happened this early, but I'm not completely shocked by this. I had a feeling he was not going to last the entire season.
No, I didn't either. The way they blew so many games last year, like double-digit leads in the second half. Like, they lost the first game after the Colts brought in Jeff Saturday. Like, you lost to a guy that's never coached before. It was bad. Yeah, I don't think the players really liked them. Like, because they have offensive talent. Like that. I know they were, 2 years ago when Rick Bisaccia got them in the playoffs, like, I know that was like a fluky team, but they had the Bengals on the ropes, and the Bengals ended up making the playoffs or making the Super Bowl that year. So there's talent. It was, like McDaniels. My brother was telling me, like his end of season interviews last year, he criticized he was only criticizing players. He wasn't telling the guys what you did well. He was only criticizing everything. I don't think that went over well. He threw Carr under the bus after all of that last year. Like, yeah, again, he didn't learn his lesson. And for Mark Davis, you hired Gruden for 10 years. Again, you got out of that one because of the, circumstances there were Gruden, but you hired McDaniels for 6 years. It's like, what are you doing? Like, Mark Davis has been awful.
And you saw in the division he failed with Denver. He failed with Denver. You should have seen that coming.
Yeah, you should have. It was not good. And maybe Mark Davis thought, okay, maybe he matured, grew up, but none of that happened. It was an embarrassment, and the timing was definitely weird. Like it's a short week now, and it was got announced like 2 a.m. Eastern. Like it was very late at night. Like it, the circus like 9 hours after the trade deadline too. So I'm not totally shocked. McDaniel, it did not seem like things were trending the right way. And again, the Raiders kind of got to reset. There's still some talent. Like a guy that kind of run for first couple years of his career, really nice slot receiver. He hasn't been used at all.
Yeah. And that's definitely on a guy like McDaniels there. And then go back to you saying he criticized the players in the exit interviews. You don't have the right to do that. Your coaching record is absolutely terrible. You don't have the right to do that, to criticize players when you can't be a head coach yourself. Your record is terrible. Players are not going to respect that. And you've pretty much seen that all year with the Raiders. Yes, they've won 3 games, but look at who they beat. They beat the Broncos by 1. They beat 2 bad teams. They beat the Packers by 4, and they beat the Patriots by 4. So this was a bad, really, really bad hire. And I think the Raiders had to make this move. They had to make this move because eventually, if they didn't make this move, Devontae Adams was going to want out, and I think eventually Max Crosby was going to want out. And if your 2 superstars, those 2 guys want out, your organization is in huge trouble because those are 2 of the top players in the league at their position.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because they haven't hit on any of the drafts. And I know that's not all Ziegler at McDaniels. That was Mayock and Gruden, but like they have not hit on their draft picks. And that's been a huge part. Crosby's a 4th rounder. That's been great. But Devontae Adams, Devontae Adams wanted to come here to play with Derek Carr. They traded Carr away. Like Jimmy Garoppolo missed him twice the other night. They were wide open touchdowns. Yeah. Like you can't blame that on McDaniels, but there's a lot of other things you can blame on McDaniels. And it just, again, he never matured. He never grew up, it seemed like. And they haven't scored. Again, they got to save against the Patriots, got 21 points, but they have not gotten more than, 20 points by their offense all year. And again, there's some talent on that. You got one of the best wide receivers in the league. And Josh Jacobs, I know he struggled this year, but led the league last year in rushing. So, there's offensive talent. He's an offensive guy. And you had to make this move because, again, this franchise has been just, it's moving to there's been a lot of issues and they just can't figure it out. And again, I feel like with some of the talent you have, if some of these guys want to stay, it could be an attractive job, but like just the way it's ran, and you're playing a road game pretty much every week or every all your home games it's pretty much a road game.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's, kind of tough. You got to start hitting your draft picks. You got to.
Exactly. And you brought up Garoppolo, and that's a really and the thing is I think the biggest problem, the biggest mistake the Raiders made this year was they signed him. They signed him instead of going out and not drafting a quarterback. Will Levis was going to be there at 7. I feel like they shouldn't have signed him, and they should have drafted Will Levis because the problem is signing him. You're pretty much signaling that this is a wasted season because there's no way that team was competing at all with Jimmy Garoppolo. All right, maybe they don't compete with Will Levis either, but at least there's a guy in the there's a franchise. You have a potential to have a franchise quarterback on this team. There's no way Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be the quarterback of the future. I didn't understand why they signed Garoppolo. Yes, part of that's on McDaniels, but also that's on Dave Ziegler, and that's why I agree with the Raiders firing him as well.
Yeah, he hasn't been great either. They've been tied together. McDaniels brought him over, and again, you could have signed Garoppolo, but also drafted Will Levis, and then have what kind of Levis use that redshirt year, kind of have him develop. If you don't want to throw him in the fire year 1, you could have done something like that too. They probably should have, and I understand. McDaniels and Carr I don't think got along. And just as I mentioned earlier, McDaniels blamed Carr a lot last year for kind of everything that went wrong, which, that was, you can't be doing that as a head coach. But look, yeah, they should have drafted somebody else because like I know Aiden O'Connell's going to start, but he's not going to be. The chances of Aiden O'Connell becoming your franchise quarterback slim to none. And then you had a Brian Hoyer. Like, yeah, they should have gone out there and drafted somebody last year. I know they had other needs, but you should have drafted somebody else instead of Jimmy G because he's going to miss a lot of time anyways. That's the thing. He's always hurt. Yeah, he's won some games in this league, but you can't depend on him to start 17 games a year, and he's not great. And he's thrown interception in every game this year.
And you knew this was a downgrade over Derek Carr. So he doesn't like Derek Carr, but he gets a quarterback that's worse. But the thing is with McDaniels and Ziegler, they liked Garoppolo because he was in New England. That's why they wanted him. They wanted the quarterback they wanted, not the quarterback that was going to make their team better. And what would have made their team better in the future would have been drafting a quarterback in the first round. And it probably would have made their team better this year was just keeping Derek Carr. So, yeah, this is definitely the reason the team is the way it is. It's definitely on McDaniels, definitely on Ziegler. And in my opinion, they both deserve to lose their jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it wasn't McDaniels the 1-2 at Denver that traded like 3 or 4 picks to move up to get Tim Tebow 2.
Yeah, that really worked out.
Yeah. So he didn't learn his lesson. Yeah, like he's not been great. And we'll see. I don't know if he comes back to New England or not next year, but yeah, like that's it. And I can't imagine there's a franchise that's dumb enough to give him a third opportunity because especially too after he left the Colts at the altar. Like especially after that debacle.
Yeah, I know exactly.
And he's still got another opportunity.
Yeah. It's crazy to think he got another opportunity. But speaking of the Patriots, I think the biggest thing that's happened with Bill Belichick assistants is we've not seen them had success in the league. I mean, Romeo Cornell, he didn't have success with the Chiefs or the Browns. Charlie Weiss, he didn't have success at Notre Dame. Obviously, we see McDaniels, two failed stops in Denver and with the Raiders. We look at Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. They were total disasters in the NFL. The only Belichick guy that succeeded in this league was Bill O'Brien, but that even ended bad in Houston. Yeah. So, and Daboll had a good first year, but we've seen what's happened in the second year with the Giants. So, the big question is why do Belichick assistants fail in the NFL? And I got 2 reasons. I think Bill Belichick's arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time, and he's a genius. But I think the issue with Belichick is he's not. Andy Reid is a better mentor. He can coach coaches he can teach coaches how to become great coaches. I don't think Bill Belichick's a great mentor, and a very good mentor, and that's why these coaches, when they've went on their own, when Judge, when Patricia, when McDaniels, when Weiss, when Cornell, when they've all went on their own, they haven't had success because I don't think Belichick is the best mentor of coaches. Also, let's be honest, Belichick was not the biggest reason why the Patriots had the dynasty. It was Tom Brady, and that has completely been proven over the last 4 years. Bill Belichick has not won a playoff game without Tom Brady. Tom Brady has won 5 playoff games in a Super Bowl. I think that's a reason why Belichick assistants have failed is because he's not the biggest reason why that Patriot team had the success they had. It was Tom Brady.
So for me, I'm going to kind of pivot or kind of piggyback off what you just said about Brady. I think it's because of Brady. They look at Josh McDaniels. Like everybody was like Josh McDaniels, but he had Tom Brady. Exactly. Like even like look at Matt Nagy with the Chiefs and with Patrick Mahomes. Like Nagy was a failure in Chicago. Like, Bill O'Brien was good, for a little bit there in Houston and won a couple of playoff games. But yeah, like I think sometimes, some of these, we hire some of these offense coordinators because they do well with a certain team, but sometimes those certain teams have a guy like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, and they're just all-time great quarterbacks and struggle when they don't have those guys. So I think that could be part of it. I think too, with Belichick, kind of with the Patriot way and all that, and like that's been established in New England, and you could kind of buy into that. But players will buy into that because it's like, okay, this guy's won. Now, like you think of McDaniels, it's like some of these guys, if he's trying the Patriot way, Like, why do we, why should we do things this way? You really haven't proven anything yet.
Exactly. That's a great point. That's a great point. The only time that way of coaching works, the Patriot way, that kind of coaching works, is if you win. And it worked in New England for 20 years because they had the greatest player in NFL history and they won games. So it only works when you win. Like McDaniels wants to try that. Patricia wants to try that. Judge wants to try that. But players are not going to respond to that if you're not winning. Players are not going to sacrifice. If players are not going to respect you if you're not winning, especially when you're that way. When you don't have the relation, you don't have a great relationship with players, they're not going to respect you if you're not winning. So I think that's a great point that you can't just bring the Patriot way over and think it's going to work other places. It worked with the Patriots because Bill Belichick was arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time, and Tom Brady is definitely the greatest quarterback of all time, and in my opinion, he's the greatest player in NFL history. That's why it worked. But guys cannot just bring the Patriot. What's been proven is guys just can't bring the Patriot way over and have it work other places. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Because because then we've seen guys kind of take a pay cut to go New England because it's like, okay, we're gonna win here.
They took pay cuts because they could win a Super Bowl, they could win a championship. That's why they took pay cuts. They're not taking pay cuts to play for the Patriots now without Tom Brady. No. They're not doing that. They're not doing that now. They took pay cuts because they wanted to win a championship. They're not taking pay cuts now.
No, they're not. No. You see the Patriots handed out Trent Brown more money in the offseason to get him to come back. So, and like a guy like McDaniels, Joe Judge, those guys haven't won anything. So it's like, why do I, that also like, why should I take a pay cut to come play for you? You haven't proven me anything. So yeah, absolutely. These guys, some of these coaches, you can kind of prove it to some of these guys. Yeah. They'll come in and then, like what the Patriots did. Yeah. I know some, Patriots had some talent, but like they did a good job kind of Bill there for a while, did a good job kind of filling enough holes there. And yeah, you had a guy like Tom Brady. And yeah, McDaniels never proved that. Joe Judge we saw was a disaster. Like, again, wasn't Joe Judge like the way he was running some of those practices? It's like, that's not going to. It
was ridiculous.
Again, that might work at college. That's not going to work in the pros. That's
you're not going to do it to grown men, especially in the year 2023.
Yeah, like there's a difference between, and that's why we've seen it at the college football and college basketball level, where some of these college guys go to the pro level and they struggle because it's a totally different aspect of how to kind of handle these guys in the locker rooms and all that. And I just
saw it with Urban Meyer. There's a reason Urban Meyer was a total disaster.
Yeah, Urban Meyer, John Calipari, with the Nets, Pitino with the Celtics. Like, yeah, there's a good line of history there with some of these coaches that have just been disasters at the pro level that have been awesome at the collegiate level. So yeah, it's just the way kind of the practices are run and all that, kind of the structure and all that. And yeah, Bill's kind of been able to kind of set that. And yeah, maybe not so much anymore with things are going, but yeah, in the past, and it helps when, it does help when you have generational talent starting at your quarterback. It does help you.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, another Belichick assistant fails. I don't know if any other Belichick assistants are going to get coaching jobs, seeing how they have failed in the NFL. So yeah, it's just another Belichick assistant fails. But we got to talk about the trade deadline, and we'll start with the Vikings. And they traded for Joshua Dobbs. And the big question for them, we know that Jaren Hall is going to start this week against the Falcons. But the big question is eventually down the road for this team. Should they start Joshua Dobbs or Jalen Hall? That's right. Is it Jalen Hall, the guy from BYU?
Jaren Hall.
Jaren Hall, the guy from BYU. Jaren Hall. Should they start Jaren Hall or Joshua Dobbs? And I think eventually Jaren Hall is going to struggle, and they're going to go to Joshua Dobbs. I think in a week or two they're going to go to Joshua Dobbs. I think Jaren Hall is going to struggle. We'll predict that game later, but I think the Vikings are going to lose this week. So I think they should stick with. They should eventually go to Joshua Dobbs. But Justin, you saw them both play in college. You probably saw Jaren Hall play at BYU. Which quarterback do you think is the better option for the Vikings going forward?
Yeah, I think eventually they're going to go Josh Dobbs. Like, yeah, Dobbs probably this week's going to learn the playbook, kind of get familiar with this offense. And then, yeah, because Jaren Hall, and because he went to BYU, and you got to do the, you got to go on your mission statement for 2 years. So he's a 25-year-old rookie. Like, he's an older guy. He's a good runner, but like the arms just isn't there yet. Like you can kind of do some RPO stuff with him, but like I don't think Atlanta's going to be scared of Jaren Hall's arm. So I think it's going to be Josh Dobbs at some point. Jaren Hall's probably gets to start this week. They probably go to Dobbs next week. Again, I don't expect Jaren Hall to be kind of the guy that's going to start the rest of the way. He's a good athlete. Maybe you could throw some wildcat packages in for him, but Josh Dobbs is a better guy.
Yeah, I definitely think Josh Dobbs should be the Viking starter going forward. I think they'll have a better chance to get that number 7 seed in the NFC if he's the starting quarterback, because he played for Arizona. And he lost games, but he was okay. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't terrible for the Cardinals. So I think with a more talented team, I think he will win more games, and I think he should be the guy going forward. I know they're going to start Hall this week because he knows the offense, and Josh Dobbs just got there, but I think Josh Dobbs will eventually be the starter for the Vikings. But we got to talk about some more trade deadline news. And the Commanders are pretty much waving the white flag. They traded Chase Young. They traded Montez Sweat. We'll start with Montez Sweat. The Commanders, they traded him. They got a good value for him. They got a second-round pick. And what the hell are the Chicago Bears doing? What are the Bears doing, giving up a second-round pick when they're 2-7 and they're not going to make the playoffs? Yeah. What are they doing? Chicago has no clue. Chicago does not know what they're doing. That's a terrible trade for Ryan Poles to give up a second-round pick when your team is going nowhere. It makes absolutely no sense. Washington did get good value for Montez Sweat in that deal, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That Bears, for the Bears to trade a second rounder for Montez Sweat, that just stinks of desperation by Ryan Poles, their general manager, because they did the same thing last year. Chase Claypool.
Why are they giving up assets when they're going nowhere?
I don't know. Like that, and that's the thing too. Like, you're always trailing. Why do you need a pass rusher? It makes no sense. And he's going to be a free agent. Yeah. So now he's got all the leverage.
Oh, if you don't imagine if they don't re-sign him, that would be a horrible move. They don't re-sign him. They have to re-sign him. I mean, any GM, and I don't care how bad your GM is, now you have to re-sign him if you're going to a second-round pick.
You have to, and it's going to be at you might set a market for a defensive end. I'm like, he should, because the Bears got to pay him whatever he wants. Yeah, so
exactly. He has all the leverage there. He has all the leverage there for a guy who's good, but he's not phenomenal.
He's not. Yeah, he's not a TJ Watt at that level.
Miles
He's a nice player.
Exactly.
That the Bears that just stinks of desperation. And Ryan Poles, I'd be surprised if he's there at the end of the year, because that may be the 33rd overall pick. That's very likely.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, horrible by Sweat. Or a horrible move there by Chicago. Commanders. You get a second rounder for him, you take that any day of the week.
Absolutely.
So on the Commanders, because. Surprise! We'll see how much longer Jack Del Rio stays as the defensive coordinator here. Yeah. Mac Jones, the Patriot offense tears them up. It should probably be the end.
Exactly. And we have another Commander that was traded, and that was Chase Young, the guy who they took who they passed on Tua and they passed on Justin Herbert to get the number 2 to take. They took Chase Young with the number 2 overall pick. He sure wasn't he's still good, but he's obviously not what they thought he was going to be. So they traded him away. Had trouble staying healthy. So they traded him to the 49ers. And the big question for the 49ers is, with some of the pass rushers they've added, with Gregory, with Chase Young, they got Nick Bosa, they got Jerron Hargrave in the D-line. I know they've lost 3 straight games, but should they still be the favorite in the NFC? And I'm gonna say yes, because I think this defense could be really good. I think this defense, it struggled over the past couple of weeks, but I think this defense is going to come back. And I think when Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel come back, this team is going to get back on track. And I still think they're still my team in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. Justin, should the Niners be the favorite in the NFC? I know they've lost 3 in a row, but should they be the favorite in the NFC?
Yeah, I'm still with the Niners. I still really like this Niners team as well, because I think bringing over Chase Young now, he teams up with his former Ohio State Buckeye, Nick Bosa. And now for Chase Young, he's not going to be double teamed every play. Like, he's kind of going to be, Nick Bosa is going to be the one that you kind of keep an eye on all the time. Like, Chase Young's probably get a lot more one-on-one stuff. So if Chase Young's ever going to reach his potential, I feel like it's going to be right now with the Niners. So I'm with you with the Niners. Like, I don't think Purdy, I know he cleared concussion protocol, but it was a short week. I still don't think he was totally 100% out there Sunday. And yeah, you got a Deebo Samuel back. You got Trent Will. When you get those 2 back, I know there's, I know the Eagles are still 7-1, but like, I haven't been overly impressed by the Eagles yet this year either. So if the Eagles are blowing teams out, I know AJ Brown's starting to, he's been on a tear lately. But yeah, I'm still a little bit have the Niners ahead of the Eagles right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know the Niners have struggled, but it's a long year. And I still think that even though they've struggled, they've lost 3 in a row. I'm not going to move off them. I still have them going to the Super Bowl in the NFC. But we got to talk about another NFC West team, and that's the Seahawks. They traded Leonard Williams. Giants got great value, though. They got a second-round pick for Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams hasn't played that great this year. Yeah, he's been decent, but he hasn't been great. He'll help Seattle a little bit, but the Giants got a second-round pick for him. That's really, really good value. I'll give Joe Shane credit there. That's really, really good value. That's really good value for Leonard Williams right there. So I am definitely happy with the return the Giants got for a team that was probably not going to make the playoffs. They did get a second-round pick for Leonard Williams.
Yeah, I thought the Giants did a good job. Get a second rounder for Leonard Williams, who might not be, who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year anyway. So, yeah, I thought the Giants did a good job. And yeah, Seattle's been very aggressive, kind of giving up their draft picks before. We saw like the Jamal Adams trade as well. So yeah, they're not afraid to give them up. So yeah, for the Giants, yeah, team, the way they lost Sunday, yeah, you're 2-6, you're not going to the playoffs. It's you might as well kind of ship off an asset, especially if you get a second rounder for them and start kind of, building up some draft capital here.
Yeah, now sticking with the Giants, they're 2-6, lost a horrible, horrible game. You probably saw the end of it because they cut out of the Patriot game ended and they went to the Giant game. So you probably saw the end of it. A horrendous loss on Sunday to the New York Jets. But the one positive in that loss was Saquon had probably his best game of the year, had a big game. Daboll probably made a mistake not, going for it on 4th and 1, handing the ball and ending the game. But here's the big question for the Giants. Did the Giants make a mistake yesterday not trading Saquon Barkley? Such a tough question. I could see it from both sides. One side is what we've been talking about. They're 2-6. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. And his value after the game he had on Sunday, his value was still pretty high. They probably could have gotten a second-round pick for him. Say they trade him to like a Baltimore, or say they trade him to the Ravens or like the Bills. So they could have gotten a second-round pick for him. So I could see it being a mistake. But on the flip side, the Giants' schedule is actually very, very favorable going forward. This week they got the Raiders, very winnable game. They do it the Cowboys the next week, which is going to be a tough game. But then the next 3 weeks they got the Commanders, who waved the white flag, the Patriots, who are not good, the Packers, who are not good. So 4 of their next 5 games are very, very winnable. So there is a legitimate, so there is a chance that this team, with the way their defense is playing, could be 6 and out. I'm not saying it's going to be very, very hard for them to get to 6 and 7, because it's going to be very, very hard for this team, the way they played this year, to win 4 of their next 5. But there is that small possibility that they could win 4 of their next 5 and be 6 and 7 and be somewhat in this in the month of December. I think that's the reason why they didn't ship off McKinney. That's the reason they didn't make the trade for Barkley. Is I think in that building, they still think they have a chance in that building. I don't think they're completely waving the white flag in that building. I still think they have a chance. But why I think it's a mistake is I just don't see this team, the way they played this year, winning 4 of their next 5. Because if they have any if they have any chance, they're not mathematically eliminated, but if they have any chance of making the playoffs, they're going to have to win. They're going to have to go 7-2. And I definitely do not see this team going 7-2. So I do think they made a mistake not getting Saquon, because the value was high. They could have picked up another second-round pick. So it's a tough question, very tough question. But I am leaning towards they did make a mistake not getting rid of Saquon. But I understand their thought process of why they kept Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it could have gone either way. Like, if you could get a second rounder for him, I think you probably have to bite the bullet and give him up. But I feel like with the way, as you mentioned, like the way the defense is playing, like not for this year, but like if this offseason, if they could finally fix that offensive line, like the way Deed's playing, I think the weapons are pretty good. If that offensive line could give if Daniel Jones is on the field, like I feel like if they really rebuild this offensive line and you could get Saquon Barkley kind of sign him in the future and keep him on this team, like, yeah, I don't think the Giants are that far. I know the way they've been playing is not great, but like I don't think they're that far away from being a playoff team. Like that's the main, and I know that's probably gonna be their main goal this offseason. It's fix that O-line. because that's been their kryptonite this year.
Horrible. No wonder they never passed the ball. They didn't only pass the ball one time because they had a third-string quarterback in there with a terrible offensive line.
Yeah, and DeVito is not. I was surprised. I didn't even know he was on your guys' roster.
Did you knew we were in trouble when he was going in? You probably knew we were in trouble.
Yeah,
when you saw him go in, you probably knew we were in big trouble in that game.
Yeah, guy was not great at Syracuse, and then went to Illinois last year and had a great running back in Chase Brown. Just be a game manager. So,
and when you're a game manager in college, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, no. So, I was very surprised when I saw him come in and kind of figured, oh boy, this could be tough. But look, so I think that's the thing. I like Jalen Hyatt. I like Darren Waller when he's healthy. If this team wants to be a playoff team next year, you got some of the talent. I feel like if you could have got a second rounder, yeah, you probably trade them. If not, if it's only a day 3 pick, then I'd say, yeah, I think they made the right decision. I think it kind of depends on what you could have got for him. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of a mistake, but you made a good point about the team in 2024. They definitely, with the way this defense is played, and all these guys are signed up. I mean, Thibodeau will be back next year. Lawrence will be back next year. Okereke will be back next year. Banks will be back next year. And we're hoping Wink is back. We're hoping Wink Martindale's back. You never know because of the way things have been going with Wink. So he might end up he could potentially get a coaching job. So we hope Wink is back. So this defense, I think, is going to be good for a while now with the players they have. I think this defense can be good for a couple of years. The issue is the offense, especially the offensive line and the receiver position. So and the quarterback position is a question mark. So there's definitely a lot more questions on the offensive side and on the defensive side. So I think, yeah, there's 2 reasons they probably kept him. The small chance that they think they might make a run this year, and next year having their best weapon on offense on this team. And that means they'll sign him. They'll probably re-sign him this offseason. So 2 reasons why. They want to keep their best weapon and the small going to next year and the small chance they have of making a crazy run this year. I think those are the 2 reasons why they held on to Barkley.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, yeah, you got to resign him now because it would look bad if you don't. If you kind of cut ties with him now, but like this minuscule chance you have this year, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's much of a possibility, but yeah, with next year. Yeah, again, you still have Daniel Jones for at least, I know
next year
they could opt out.
Yeah, next year they definitely could opt out.
And you've seen him; he could get you to a playoff. And
then you saw him. You can win a playoff game with limited guys in the offense too, with limited receivers, with a shaky offensive line. Yeah, so he did prove to win a playoff game. But the problem with Jones is he's got to be more consistent. Yeah. You're not seeing it every year with him. You saw it last year. You're not seeing it every year with him.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, it's kind of he's still making the same old mistakes that you can't make in your your 4th year as a starter. It's not you can't be doing that. So yeah, the consistency it's got to be better with them. But yeah, there's still some talent here, and I kind of think, all right, they're kind of in the mind of we could kind of hopefully kind of get back next year to compete for a wild card. Yeah, you're not going to compete with the Eagles next year for that division, but you should be able to compete for a wild card next year, especially in the NFC because it's not great.
It's very disappointing. They're in where they are where they are this year, knowing how weak the NFC is in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a chance there's going to be 2 NFC South teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely, without question. Absolutely.
And again, the division's not. There's no good team in that division. So yeah, that's kind of the disappointing part, and that's where I kind of feel like your Giants. All right, you kind of could focus on that next year to kind of get back in there and kind of hopefully kind of get back to where you were last year. Cause it's been a disappointing year. And with the Dable move, what happened to last year? This guy used to be so aggressive and now he's
oh God, I don't get it. 2 times on Sunday, 4th and 1 from the 4th and 1, he kicks a field goal instead of going for it and Gano misses. And then we all know at the end of the game. And I know it's not totally obvious to go for it there. I know if you kick the field goal, you're up 6 points. But all you needed was 1 yard, and they were having trouble stopping Saquon the entire second half. You just run the ball, and you get a yard, and you win the game. And then not even attempting a pass. Yeah. You're asking for trouble when you don't attempt. You attempt 1 pass in an entire half of an NFL game in 2023.
Yeah, that's the other. Yeah, going fourth and one. It's like, yeah, you've been running the whole half. It's like the Jets aren't going to be. You're not catching the Jets off guard there. And that's the other thing. Like, he's the backup, so why hasn't he been taking any reps at practice? Like, it doesn't seem like he took any reps. It's like all Tyrod Taylor.
If you're gonna have a guy be your backup quarterback in 2023. He needs to be able to throw the ball. You got to have confidence that he can throw the ball. The Giants had no confidence that Tommy DeVito can throw the ball.
No, they did not. And that's the other thing. Like, you gotta think that there's a chance where our starting quarterback may get hurt. We may have to go with Tommy DeVito.
Yeah,
you would think he would have some reps, but it did not clearly look like he got many reps during practice. Maybe it's a practice squad. As the but yeah, like it's not a that's another thing on Dable. Like, you got to have your backup quarterback at least a little bit prepared.
And on Shane to have a backup quarterback that the coaching staff has no confidence in throwing the football. That's on Joe Shane as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. You got to have somebody you can trust. Yeah, that's definitely not a guy. Yeah, that's definitely not a guy. That said, I did not even realize he was on your guys' roster. I know he was there in the preseason, but I thought you guys may have cut him. Never been high. I know it's a great story. He lived right near MetLife, but he's not an NFL quarterback.
No, not at all. Now let's get to the slate of games this week, and the biggest game this week is between the Chiefs and the Dolphins. I mean, two really, really good teams right here. You got 6-2 Chiefs, 6-2 Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are playing the Chiefs. They picked the wrong week to play the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to be motivated this week. I think their offense is definitely going to bounce back. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to bounce back this week, throw 2 or 3 touchdown passes. I do think the Dolphins, Tua has a big game too. I think Tyreek Hill has a big game against his former team. I think it comes right down to the end. But I'm going to take the Chiefs here. I'm going to take Mahomes here. I got the Chiefs winning 31-27. But Justin, can the Dolphins finally beat a Super Bowl contender?
No, I got the Chiefs as well. 2023. I wasn't too impressed with Miami's offense last week. Like, they didn't really run the ball well against New England. They hit a couple big plays down the field, but they weren't great on third down. They were 4-4 and fourth down. Like, they probably could have put a lot more points on the board against New England than they should have. And Miami too, they haven't been a team with a 500 record or better since September last year. Like, this is a team that's really being up on softer competition.
Since they beat the Bills, I think, last year.
Yeah. That was the game. Yep. So that's why Mahomes was sick last week. A lot of drop passes. Like, their defense played well. Denver just, they had 24 points off turnover. So I think Kansas City this week bounces back. I think, their wide receivers got to catch the football, but I think this KC offense kind of figures it out against the Miami defense. That helps Jalen Ramsey coming back, but I got Chiefs bounce back.
We got a huge matchup in the NFC East between the Cowboys and the Eagles. I think this game is close. I think it's close and competitive, but I'm going to take the quarterback that's going to make less mistakes in the game. That's going to be Jalen Hurts. I think A.J. Brown is another big game because he's a big game every week. I think DeAndre Swift's going to have a big game against the Cowboys. The Cowboys have trouble against the run. And I think that Dak Prescott's going to play well, but he's going to make that big mistake late in the game that's going to cost them. And I got the Eagles staying in first place, going to 8-1. I got the Eagles beating the Cowboys 31-24. But Justin, can Dak lead the Cowboys to a big win in Philly?
I'm with you as well. I got the Eagles 27-21. The Cowboys are, like Miami, they'll beat up on the teams that they should, and then they face kind of competition at their level or better than them. They usually get pushed around and beat. Look at the 49er game. So I think the Cowboys will hang around, but the way, in the secondary, I think Dallas is going to struggle against A.J. Brown, he's been on a complete tear since kind of asking for the ball more. And then if they even try to double him, I think Devontae Smith has a big day. So I got the Eagles win this game by 6 at home.
We got a rematch of the divisional round of the playoffs last week as the Bills take on the Bengals. I think that this is a close competitive game. I know Allen's a little bit banged up with his shoulder, but I think Joe Burrow, he proved last week he's the second best quarterback in football, and there's no debate about it. The way he played against that Niners defense, he is the second when healthy. He is definitely the second best quarterback in football. We knew early in the season he was not healthy. He was not right. Now he's right. The Bengals are a scary team. I think he plays a great game on Sunday night. I do think the Bills have some success on the ground with James Cook. I do think Allen plays pretty well, but not as well as Joe Burrow. And that's why I got the Bengals beating the Bills again. I got them beating the Bills 34-27. But Justin, can the Bills get revenge on what happened last year in the postseason?
No, I get the Bengals as well, 28-23. Josh Allen on the road this year. As a team, the Bills are 1-3, And Allen on the road, he's got 6 touchdowns to 6 INTs. While at home this year, he's got 9 touchdowns to 2 INTs. So he's been much better at home than he has been on the road this year. And the way Joe Burrow's playing, with all the Bills' injuries, I don't see the Bills' defense making many stops for their offense to kind of stay in it. And I think Allen will make a couple mistakes in this game, and Joe Burrow is, you're spot on in that. He's the second best quarterback in the league. He's 100% healthy now. And I don't think the Bills are the Bills last week, again, poor execution. They didn't play great last week. They kept the Bucs in that one. And I think this week, this is a team that you can't really kind of fool around against, and the Bengals will take them out.
Yeah, and I think when we look at the Bills, we actually were Super Bowl contenders. I said yes, you said no, but I'll agree with you with this. I don't think they're a top 4 team in the AFC. I'm definitely taking the Chiefs over them. I'm taking the Bengals over them. I'm taking the Ravens over them. I'm taking the Jaguars over them. So they might be the 5th best team in the AFC. Them or the Dolphins, to me. Both of them are Super Bowl contenders. Don't get me wrong. The AFC is really deep. But them and the Dolphins are like tied for 5th with me for the best teams in the AFC. 1, I'm going with the Chiefs. 2, I'm going with the Ravens. 3, I'm going with the Jaguars. And 4, I'm going with the Bengals. I have all those teams ahead of the Bills right now in the AFC. I mean, I just think it just seems like there's just something off about this Bills team right now. And I think they compete, but I just don't think I don't think they get it done. I just think I'm going to go with the team that's playing better right now, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. And they're scary again. They're scary again. I wouldn't be surprised if they get back to the Super Bowl the way Joe Burrow's playing.
No, I wouldn't either. Especially the Chiefs can't really figure out the offense. If that can't really get rolling, I could see it. The Jags are being pretty good this year, but I got to see them win a playoff game. And then I know they did beat the Chargers last year, but they I guess even take the next step. The Ravens are, Lamar, I know we'll get to that, but like the Ravens, Lamar that Tom Monken offense starting to click. So they could be right there with the Ravens, battling right there in the AFC. So again, right now the Bills, I'm kind of worried and sad for that franchise because their window's closing faster than I think what they thought they would. And for Josh Allen, he is better than Phillip Rivers, but like he could kind of be like that. He's always getting there, but he just can't get over the hump. So it'd be a shame because I know that franchise has, been excited for a while to kind of get one and thought this was their time, but it may be closing faster than they thought.
Yeah, it could. And you made a good comparison with Josh Allen and Phillip Rivers right there. But we got to move on to the 2 local teams, and we'll start with the Giants against the Raiders this week. Antonio Pierce, his first game is going to be against his former team that he won a Super Bowl for. And he beat the Patriots as you know very well. He beat the Patriots in 2000 and that Super Bowl 42. He was the starting middle linebacker for that team. He is the head coach. He's now the interim head coach of the Raiders. And for this game, I think it's going to be close and competitive. But the difference is with Daniel Jones back, I feel like the Giants have the better quarterback. I do think Saquon Barkley is going to have a good game on the ground. I think he's gonna have a good game on the ground. I think Daniel Jones is going to protect the football in his first. He should be back this week. He's going to protect the football. And I do think the way this Giants defense is playing, I think they're going to turn the ball over. They're going to turn the ball over. They're going to force a couple turnovers from Jimmy Garoppolo if he starts. You don't even know if he's going to start. It's probably going to be Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah,
if Aiden O'Connell starts, I still think if it's Aiden O'Connell, they'll force a couple turnovers from him. So I do think it's going to be close and competitive. It's going to be right down to the end. But I think either the Giants win it on a game-winning field goal, or they make a defensive stop at the end of the game. And I got the Giants bouncing back this week and going to 3-6. I got them beating the Raiders 20-17. But Justin, can Antonio Pierce get his first win as a head coach against his former team?
Yeah, I'll take I got the Raiders 17-13. I'll stick with it. Look, a couple years ago, after the Gruden stuff, they went to Denver. Nobody thought they were winning that football game. They did. After that unfortunate incident with Henry Ruggs, they won that week as well. Like, it, again, we'll kind of see what this fight is, but they kind of pulled off a couple miracles a couple years ago. Maybe with McDaniels gone, maybe, some of these players didn't like him. Maybe this team's kind of fired up this week, and I think maybe they go out there and get a win. I know it'll probably be, more Giants and Raider fans, but maybe this is, sometimes this motivates a team. This is, and maybe this week, maybe this is what the Raiders needed. It'll be interesting to Pierce because he's only been a coach for a year and a half. So we'll see what he's got, but I think the Raiders come out fired up, and I think they find a way to win this football game.
It should be. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be low scoring, and it definitely can go either way. I'm just picking the Giants because I just think they are the better team. Even though they might not have Darren Waller and they might not have Andrew Thomas, I just feel like they are a better team than the Raiders right now. But we'll move on to the Patriots, and we got the Commanders heading to Foxborough to face the Patriots. And I think this is a game that Bill Belichick is still very, very useful in. I think this game is a game that these are games, even without Tom Brady, that Bill Belichick has the most success in against young quarterbacks. And I think he's going to, I saw Sam Howell have trouble 2 weeks ago against Wink Martindale. I think he's going to have the same trouble against Bill Belichick. I think he's going to throw a couple interceptions. I think Mac Jones is going to manage the game against this defense. I mean, he could have a huge game against this defense. Yeah. Seeing the way they don't have Chase Young or Montez Sweat. I do think there's some success in the ground with Stevenson and Elliott. I think this game comes down to the end where the Patriots force a turnover or they stop Sam Howell at the end of the game. And for me to pick the Patriots, they got to be playing a team that's not very good. And I am taking the Patriots. Only the second time this year I've taken the Patriots in a game. The only time I did was when they went up against Zach Wilson and they won. So I am taking the Patriots this week to beat I'll take the Patriots this week to beat the Commanders 23-16. But Justin, can Sam Howell play well again this week and keep the Commanders, even though they waved the white flag, keep the Commanders in this playoff race?
No, I don't think so. I get the Pats this week, 21-20. For me, you mentioned Bill. This is a game where he's pretty useful in. Patriots are very banged up defensively, as we know. Christian Barmore played well Sunday. I think the Patriots can get after him. Jack Wilson's still been the most sacked quarterback in the league. I think he's been sacked up to 41 times, I believe it is.
You mean Sam Howell?
For Sam Howell. He's been sacked a ton. And I think Patriots get after him. I think their defense plays well in this one. And I think this is Mac Jones where he plays well. Again, he's got to play well. Justin Fields carved up this team. I know you got no Bourne, but I expected Mario Douglas to have a big day. Hopefully Keyshawn Booty's activated. I'd love to see him get going, because he had a nice week one and early on. But I'll take the Pats to knock out the Commanders. It's a game that you should win at home. You got to. I know they're not a great team, but it's a team you got to win at home.
Yeah, if you're the Patriots, you absolutely. If Mac Jones has any hope to be your starter going forward, you got to win this game against a team that's pretty much waving the white flag. But we'll move on to tomorrow night's game between the Titans and the Steelers. I think this is a close, competitive game, but I think the difference in this game is going to be the quarterback. Will Levis was great on last Sunday. I don't think he'll be as good, but I think he will outplay whoever the Steelers have at quarterback. If it's Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky, I think Derrick Henry's going to have a good game on the ground because the Steelers struggle to stop the run. I think it's going to come right down to the end. But I'm going to take the Titans to pull the upset here on the road. I got the Titans winning it 24-19. But Justin, can the Steelers bounce back this week and get to 5-3?
No, they want to. I got Titans as well, 2016. They got to get out to a faster start. They've been falling behind this year in the first quarter, 43-14. And as we know, this is not a team that's built to come from behind, and that puts a lot of stress on your defense to kind of make plays. And seems like when they win games, because their defense is making a couple big plays for them. And I think Will Levis is gonna have, is gonna have enough success in this game throwing to Deontay Johnson. I think Derrick Henry's Will Levis, is gonna have success throwing the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. They finally, him being, able to get him going. Derrick Henry, I think, is having a nice game on the ground. And I think Tennessee finds a way on the road to knock off Pittsburgh.
And it's crazy how a young quarterback can change everything for a franchise. It looked like Tennessee was selling. It looked like Kevin Byard's already gone. He's with the Eagles. But DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry could have very easily – I know they said they weren't going to trade Derrick Henry, but there's a chance that Derrick Henry could have been gone. And I think DeAndre Hopkins would have been gone if Levis didn't play well and lost that game this week. Levis playing well definitely changes things. And now you look at the Titans, maybe they sneak into the playoffs if Levis continues to play well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that division too, where you got Jacksonville. Houston's been a surprise. Indy's kind of continuing to try to keep pace. But their schedule's not. I don't think their schedule's impossible. You got Tampa coming up, and you got the Panthers at home, Colts at home. You got some win. You still got Texans twice. So there's some games there you can win. So yeah, and Levis, he didn't look like a rookie. He was very composed back there. He wasn't afraid to get hit. He stepped up, made some couple of really good throws in that game. Maybe now that there's some tape on him, Mike Tomlin kind of figure something out. But he really did not look like a rookie starting his first game the other day. You could see the big arm was there. Last year, his offensive line was so bad. I think he was banged up because of that. And I think maybe that's why some of his numbers were down last year. He had a new OC as well. Because this looked like the Will Levis we kind of saw a couple years ago, where it's okay, this guy looks like he's a legit pro prospect. And again, it is one game, but I was really impressed the way he played.
Yeah, he played really, really well in his first game last week. Now we'll move on to a big matchup in Baltimore as the 5-2 Seahawks face the 6-2 Ravens. I think this game is close. I think it's competitive. But in this game, I'm gonna take the better quarterback. I mean, because Geno Smith, even though they're 5-2, he hasn't really played that. I mean, he's lucky the defense has definitely improved this year. They got Bobby Wagner, they got Devin Witherspoon, who've made a big difference on the defense. Obviously, they just went out and got Leonard Williams. They went out and they signed Julian Love, who got an interception last week. So this Seahawks defense is definitely improved. And Geno Smith hasn't played as well as last year, but the defense is clearly better. That's why they're 5-2. But in a game like this, I'm going to take the quarterback that's going to make less mistakes because I do think Geno turns it over a couple times, and I don't think Lamar turns it over. I think it comes right down to the end where the Ravens make the stop and win the game. I got the Ravens going to 7-2, beating the Seahawks. I got the Ravens going to 7-2, beating the Seahawks 24-17. But Justin, can the Seahawks defense and Geno lead them to their fourth straight win?
I don't think they will in this one. I got the Ravens as well, 27-20. Lamar or 24-20. I got Lamar. Lamar, the way that offense is finally cooking right now, I think the Seahawks defense is going to struggle to kind of slow it down right now. I think the Ravens are going to have some success through the air in this one. And I think Lamar, the way Lamar's playing, he's kind of up there right now, kind of getting back there in the MVP category or kind of conversation. He should be one of the favorites right now. Took a while to get Todd, to figure out Todd Monken, or to get on the same page with the new OC, but they're starting to really figure it out. And I really like the way the Ravens are playing right now. And yeah, I'm with you. The way Geno, they scored 17 points last week in the first quarter, and then they got lucky. PJ Walker threw that interception late to go down and score that game-winning drive. So I haven't really been impressed by Geno this year, and I think Lamar outplays him.
Got a big NFC matchup in Atlanta as the Vikings take on the Falcons. And I'm just going to take the team with the quarterback that better. I mean, it's crazy to say Desmond Ridder is better than Jaren Hall. If Desmond Ridder hasn't played that well either, but I think Bijan gets some yards on the ground. I do think that Desmond Ridder makes more plays. I think Hall turns the ball over a couple times. And that's why in a low-scoring game, I got the Falcons going to 5-4, beating the Vikings 20-12. But Justin, can Jaren Hall and the Vikings defense carry them to their fourth straight win?
No, I'm with you at the Falcons as well, 23-17. I think Ridder plays well this week. I know the Vikings defense is played a lot better the last couple of weeks, but I think Hall has a couple turnovers of this game, and I think the Falcons offense kind of capitalizes off of it. They got to be good. Falcons got to kind of just convert in the red zone. I think they do this week. I think Bijan Robinson has a nice game, and I'll take the Falcons to go to win this one and get it back over 500.
Rams head to Lambeau to face the Packers. I think this is a low-scoring game. We don't know if Matthew Stafford's going to play. If Rippon plays, I think he turns the ball over a couple of times. And I do think the run game of the Packers, I think Aaron Jones will finally have a good game on the ground to make life easier for Jordan Love. I think the Packers defense makes a play at the end. I don't think either of these teams are that good at all. But I'm going to take the home team here. I'm going with the Packers 20-12 over the Rams. But can McVay hand the Packers their fifth straight loss?
Yeah, I got the Packers as well, 16-12. If Stafford's playing, I'm taking the Rams. But yeah, with that up in the air, I got the Packers. Even though I am worried. Like the last 5 games, they scored 9 points in the first half.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another story for another day with the whole Aaron Rodgers situation and everything. The way they botched that. We'll talk about that later in the season. But yeah, it's bad in Green Bay right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it is. It's pitiful, and it's pretty sad to kind of see it right now. We'll see how much longer LaFleur gets there. I can't imagine it'll be much longer, but yeah, I think the Rams run the ball well enough, or they run the ball well, but I think the Packers stop it enough, and I think the Packers offense just does enough against Brett Rippon. This is a game that if it is Rippon starting, the Packers have to win. If not,
if not, they have to think about moving on from Jordan Love. If they don't win this game, if Brett Rippon starts, they lose this game. That's 5 in a row. They got to start thinking about moving on from Jordan Love and admitting their mistake because they got to get. If they lose this game, they got to get the mistake out of the building. They got to admit they made a major mistake moving on from Rodgers for this guy.
Yeah, they absolutely would, and it'll be Sean Clifford the backup right now. So
mistake guy.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm with you. If he plays horrible again, you lose a Brett Rippon, you got to you got to move on from, because it just doesn't seem really he's getting a lot better right now.
No, not at all. Bears traveled to New Orleans to face the Saints, and I think the Saints cruise in this game. I think Derek Carr throws a couple touchdown passes. I think the Saints defense turns Badgett over a couple of times, just like the Chargers defense did last week. I think the Saints win this one easy. I got the Saints 27-10 over the Bears. Justin, I assume you got the same because the Bears organization right now does not know what they're doing.
No, they do not. They're lucky they may have the top 5 picks, right now looking good draft. But yeah, I got Saints 24-14. Carr should play well against the Bears secondary that Justin Herbert had an unbelievable game, maybe one of his best of his career so far. I think Kamara has a pretty good game as well. I think, Carr will spread it out. They'll hit some shots this week. And yeah, the Bears with Tyson Badgett. Much different team than the Las Vegas Raiders last week for him. So I think they struggled to kind of move the ball here against the Saints.
Absolutely. We got a interconference matchup in Houston. We got the Bucs against the Texans, 2, 3, and 4 teams. I'm going to take the home team here. I think the Bucs struggle to run the ball. I think the Texans forced a couple turnovers from Baker Mayfield. I think that C.J. Stroud doesn't turn the ball over. And I got the Bucs winning a close one here. I got the Bucs winning. I got the Texans winning this one, 21-16 over the Bucs. But Justin, can Baker get the Bucs and the 3-game losing streak get the Bucs back to 500?
I'm with you. Same as that score, 21-16. I think, Texas play well enough. And I think the Bucs being just, they're one-dimensional. They really can't run the football. And I think, Texans haven't been great game pressure on them. And the Bucs have actually protected Baker pretty well so far this year. But I think just being one-dimensional, I think D'Amico Ryan's in that defense, scheme of a good plan for this one. And I think Baker kind of he'll make some plays, but not enough. And I think C.J. Stroud outplays Baker Mayfield in this one. The Texans at home get the win.
We got an interconference matchup in Cleveland between the Cardinals and the Browns. Clayton Tune will be starting for the Cards, and then you have P.J. Walker starting for the Browns. So it'll be an ugly game, but I'll take the team with much more talent. I got the Browns winning this one, 24-9 over the Cardinals. Justin, I assume you got the same.
Yeah, I got 16-7 Browns. Tough start here for Clayton Tune to get against this defense that, I expect them to play a lot better. I think Myles Garrett's going to be an absolute game wrecker. And Cleveland's been awesome on third down. They're only allowed their opponents to on third down, their opponents are only they're like 20% on third down. Their opponents on third down against the Browns this year. So I get Cleveland win this one 16-7.
We got an interconference matchup in Carolina as the Colts take on the Panthers. Frank Wright faces his former team. I think this is a close competitive game. I think Frank Wright's a little bit motivated, but I do think the difference in this game is going to be, I think Minshew will make less mistakes than Bryce Young. I think the Colts will run the football better. I think it'll come right down to the end where the Colts defense got to make a play against Bryce Young. I think they do this week. That's why I think the Colts win 27-20 over they win 27-20 over the Panthers. But Justin, can Frank Wright get revenge against his former team?
No, I got the Colts as well, 20-21. I think Bryce Young's been playing well. I just wish he had a different system and a different team. Like I don't think this is Carolina to be tough for him. But I think they'll make some plays against this Colts defense. But I think Gardner Minshew, the way he's playing, they'll run the Colts will run the ball well enough. I think the Colts, take down Carolina this week. I think Bryce Young will play well, but just, defense won't make enough stops in this one.
We got the Monday night game between the Jets and the Chargers. And yes, the Jets are 4-3, but they very easily could be 2-5. I mean, the Eagle game, on third down late in the game, Jalen Hurts throws an interception. And then we don't need to bring up last week. Last week, the Giants they almost lost to a third-string quarterback. Their defense is good. I'll give them that. Zach Wilson is still one of the worst quarterbacks in football. He still is. He's garbage. Zach Wilson is garbage. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in football. And when he's got to go up against a quarterback like Justin Herbert, I know this could be a game the Jets could win because we know Brendan Staley can do the same thing the Giants did last week. But I am going to take the better quarterback here. I think that Justin Herbert outplays Zach Wilson in this game. I think the Chargers defense forces a couple turnovers from Zach Wilson. I think this comes right down to the end where Wilson has the ball in his hands. And just like last week, because the Giants did stop him, but they just failed to close out the game with on offense and with their special teams. I think the Chargers close out the game with their defense. The Chargers win a close one here. I got them winning at 24-17. But Justin, can this Jets defense, like they have, carry them to their fourth straight win?
I don't think so. I got the Chargers 18-13. I think Herbert plays well enough in this one. Yeah, It's almost like when Zach Wilson's got no pressure on him. That's when he'll make it play. Though, that's when it seems
the
like.
defense is totally worn down like it was at the end of the Giants defense was at the end of the game last week.
Yep. Yeah. When you kind of feel like, okay, there's no shot they're going down the field, then that's when he does it. So, yeah, I get the Chargers. I think they play well enough, and I think Chargers have to run enough in this one. And Breece Hall, I think, gets some yards, but just not enough. And Zach Wilson, hasn't been turning the ball a ton, but yeah, I could see him making a mistake or two in this one. And the Chargers, they got to Chargers want to be. There's a big kind of spot for both these teams. They want to kind of be in that wild card race.
Yeah, it's a huge game for the wild card race in the AFC. Chargers cannot lose to Zach Wilson. I'm sorry. You cannot lose to Zach Wilson. They can't lose the game. And the Jets, it's a big game for the Jets because if they win the game, they pretty much have a 3-game lead on the Chargers. Yeah, absolutely. With the pretty with the Raiders coming up, you got the Falcons, Texans. So their schedule kind of softens up for the Jets coming up here so soon. So for the Jets, it would be huge for them to get this one. But the Chargers can't lose this one. I don't think they will. Yeah, I don't think they will either. That's going to wrap up this edition of Sports Talk with R&J. But we'll be back in 10 minutes talking about the Rangers being up 3-1 on the Diamondbacks in the World Series, Harden getting traded to the Clippers, and the first edition of the college football rankings. And there is some controversy at the top, so make sure you tune in for that.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is his availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
It's 2 for 3. He's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.